Good afternoon, you well?
Good afternoon, yes, of course.
Before we talk Bournemouth, can I just ask you about your news today about your striker signing a new contract, Lyle? How important is he going to be in the next few months if you're going to stay in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's clear. I mean, we're in a position now where, and as well, I think it's more, he came in from a very small club before coming to us, and we believe he's going to be an important striker in the Premier League. And I think when you compare what the benchmarks are in the Premier League, I think that it was maybe a slight correction from our side, and also making sure that we could have him a little bit longer at the club. So we're really happy with that. Settling
in can often be difficult for a player coming in, especially 23 years of age. How impressed have you been with him?
Yeah, but you speak about settling in. We've got another 14 in the squad at the moment doing exactly that, and it took him 6 months. And but he's happy and he's performing well, and also it's not just what he's shown on the pitch; it's also what he's shown off the pitch. His character is dependable. He's hardworking. He's a player that's there for the team and also able to compete at this level. So I think it's good for the club.
And more good news on the striking front. Michael Obafemi, I believe, has played some time this week and got back into action on the grass. How encouraging is that for you?
It's good. I mean, he had during internationals in last summer, he had a pretty big injury. So for him as well, he's a player that relies a lot on his speed. So you have to do his rehab really, really diligently. And he's come back really, really well. So he's done, I think, his first half an hour. It's still a long way before he's match fit. But if he can keep on the trajectory where he's now, we're going to have a good player back in the squad. Yeah. Can I have a towel, please? It's not that your questions are making me sweat, but but if I don't wipe off my forehead, they're going to think it's you.
Pressure of the questions.
Yes, exactly. Go ahead.
Sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You've completely thrown me now. Difficult to overestimate the importance of this week's game, Bournemouth, after what happened at Brentford on Saturday. What's morale like at the moment?
Morale is good. I think we did everything we could to make sure that we kind of factored in the fact that these moments we were going to try and utilize them to make steps forward. And of course, I mean, you take one on the chin because the performance was not good enough, and it has to be said, and it has to be shown and confronted. So that's always a tough thing. But once you've done it, you do feel that you can grow from it. And I think at that point you probably stop the talking and you kind of look forward to the game to try and do your talking on the pitch now.
What concerned you most about last weekend?
I mean, the thing that it's not a concern as in like I don't think it's something that will stay in our team, but the realization that the things what made us good last year, obviously in a moment when you lose it, you get exposed. And I'm talking reactions, second balls, being alive, the duels, before we even get to a tactical, technical, quality side, and without the basics, you can't compete in this league. But we pride ourselves normally on being good on those, and it wasn't good enough on Saturday. But that is nothing that I can see as a staying in our team. There's too much emphasis on being the opposite of that.
You clearly still believe you're going to be okay. One or two players have done interviews this week and been similar, expressing that belief, Lyle including today. How reassuring is that for you that it's not just you on your own that are convinced, but the players too seem to share that belief?
Even if it was just me on my own, I'd do everything I can to convince as many people around me that we've got a great team, and you show it on the pitch. So when you take one on the chin like last weekend, there's really not much more to say. I can say we've got a good team, but we've got to show it, and it was always going to be like, look, I'm not naive enough to not be able to put a Brentford performance into context. It's a tough place to go to, but in the end, we haven't given ourselves a chance to be in a game, and that can't happen.
You've always been very calm about the situation, despite the way the season's gone so far. At what point would you start to admit that you'd get concerned?
Concerned? I mean, I think a manager, you live in constant. You're always concerned. I'm not concerned in terms of where I think we're going. On the contrary, but as a manager, your role is to, look at the threat of the wingers, look at the threat that they have on set pieces, look at the threat that they have when they press you. So we're always looking at what is it that makes the opposition strong. But then I also look at what makes us strong, and from that side, I've just got every desire to get the best out of this team, and I think they deserve this attention from us. They deserve the support from us, and luckily my journey with Burnley has not been written a couple of weekends ago. We've gone through a lot, and for us is to use this in the way we've used it in the past.
So no worries yet.
I don't know why this word even has to be mentioned. We just go about our business. We work hard. We make sure that we don't ever ignore reality of what happens, and then we go to the next game. That's the beautiful thing about football. You always have another game, no matter what, until you're done, really. But you always have another game, and the next game could be your best game, and how do you prepare mentally to have your best game? That's more important.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Vincent, first of all, what's the team news going into this game? Presumably there'll be at least one change.
Obviously the red card, and then I think injury-wise, we like you mentioned Obafemi, we're seeing the reappearance of some of the players who've been injured, but I think the squad is fairly in line with what we had before Brentford. So I think. But that might change in the next 10 days or so.
What are your thoughts on Bournemouth? Because 12 months ago, they were pretty much in the position you find yourselves now. They found a way out of it, but obviously are down there in the fight with you this time around. So what do you make of what you've seen from them so far?
Look, it's two different managers, so there's obviously going to be always differences because of that. But in the end, I can see why it's tough for Bournemouth, like I can see why it's tough for us, but I think all of us have got the same ambition, is to get to that next level and make sure that you establish yourself as a good, strong Premier League club, but it goes in stages, and at this moment in time I think we're in probably in a similar battle and similar situation, but it's the nature of this league.
We've spoken already this season about the games that the fixture list threw at Burnley early on. You've said repeatedly that there'll come a time when you play opponents that you consider to be around your level. Is this that time now, and is it something that you and this group have spoken about going into this weekend?
Yeah, but it feels like it's. I think what you have to remember as well is we also have a responsibility to manage the group, to manage people, human beings, and when you have a tough start, it's important as well to put things into context. So, but now all I can say is Bournemouth will be a tough away game. There's not going to be any easy games in this league. So I think it's looking ahead and seeing, okay, how can you get the result and the points, and in the end, whether a team is better or not than you, we've always approached it with the ambition to get 3 points. So that remains.
This is the challenge, though, isn't it? If you take into account that people believe the Premier League's divided into maybe three different divisions within the league, this is the challenge for Burnley right now.
Yeah, and there's probably like a middle ground. Like there's probably also like the upper championship that probably falls into a similar category, if you know what I mean. But that's the beautiful thing about our system. We can level up. We can go higher. Some of the teams who are now in those higher echelons were exactly where we were this year, like we were in the championship last year. And but that push to get better, for me, it's consistency. It's good. We can talk about I know it's gonna. It rightly so. It gets mentioned. Are you worried? Are you this? Are you that? But my mindset doesn't work like this. I'm incapable of doing that. My thing is, okay, stay consistent, work hard, and other people who worry and panic, you'll benefit from that. Let them do that. But it's not in my nature.
Thank you.
Hi, Vinny. You mentioned confronting the players after the Bournemouth game. After the
Brentford
game. What sort of reaction did you get? Is it sort of the reaction you were looking for from them?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, the new players, you're assessing them as you're going through that period. But the players I've worked with before, I knew how they'd react, and they know. And to be fair, even more pleasing, I think they themselves, wanted to say what needed to be said. And then in the end, I think also everybody realizes that it's a long season, and we've just got to do better next game.
As mentioned, after the tough start, you're now playing teams that are around you. Have you said this is a must win game?
It's a mindset thing for me. Every game is a must win. I've never been raised that way. From the age of 6, for example, I'll give you an example. From the age of 6, I've played in a team in Anderlecht where you had to win every game, and we went to tournaments in Europe and we had to win every game. So it's something, it's in my blood. I can't not say I want to win, or it's a must-win game.
But when you saw the fixture list come out at the start of the season, is it one you pinpointed as you will require something to get?
No, you have to win every game. I have to win every game. And sometimes you do that. And I've been involved as well in football for long enough to know that you put a calendar and sometimes you have the same amount of points, but it flips. You get the points against the teams that you didn't expect to get the points, and you lose them against the team you expected to get the points. I think it's a mindset thing, because when you have the attitude of wanting to win every game, like we did last season, like we continue into this season, what it does, it sets high standards for everyone. You don't go into a game saying, I want to win, with having a bit of a week where you just cruise through it. No, if you want to win every game, it's a mindset that you create by demanding the best of everyone every day, and that goes on in the background, whether the results show it or not. It just lives in the team.
Any thoughts about changing the system? Are the players and yourself still fully behind what you're doing on the pitch?
I don't know how to answer this question. The system changes all the time, and it's always adapting to the problems you face against any given team. It was the case last season, and it's the case this season. But it's not just for us. It's I think it's in football now. Every team in the Premier League at the top level has got fluidity in what they do, and it's the same for us. If you look at the detail of it, it's the same for us. And so we keep going. I mentioned consistency, though. It's really important. If you have a bad moment in your life and you go start changing everything, going the other way, then most of the time you circle around, come to the conclusion, I should have just continued working at what I was doing, So you adapt, you improve, but you stay consistent.
Thanks, Shimo. Can we get back to Scott at the back, please?
Vincent, is it sometimes tougher to not make changes? Is the easier option to try and change it a little bit?
So what changes, though? Because change, like, I feel there's a lot of change, but I feel that that's a part of the game in everything you do. So I don't know if you define change. What do you mean with change?
Like personnel, really. Team selections.
Personnel change. Yeah, I mean, there's also a logical reason to explain change when you have 14 new players. It makes perfect sense, when you have a squad who's, as a player, I've been a part of some squads where you have the same squad for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and everybody knows what the hierarchy is within the squad. Everybody knows which player comes in and comes out for different moments of the game. But when you have 14 new players, it's no different than last season. The assessment of what your players are able to do against the level of opposition you play against and where they best fit in the way you play, that comes through the season. And then when there's a lot of new players, you have change in the beginning, and then it settles. Eventually settles.
Do you feel quite confident that you're going into games giving yourself the best possible chance to get results still?
Depends how you look at it. Of course, yeah, every time. I mean, I don't know why you would ever set up a team to do any different. But what I'm saying is, depends how you look at it in this sense. You know, you have a collection of solutions that will say, okay, maybe you put the players with the most quality on, you know, and that could be players that are new players that are maybe not embedded into what you do yet. Or you could say, I put the players in who know the system the best. But that might be players where maybe you don't have the option to solve a problem one-on-one or with speed, or, you know, because it's the two different ways to approach this thing. And the answer is really when you do it, you learn as it happens. You learn as it happens. There's no, there's a lot of theories around, but if you look long enough, you see that there's theories for every way of solving this problem.
You said to us almost the moment you were appointed about how much you want your team to create chances and score goals and be on the front foot and attack. Defensively, does it hurt you though, being a former defender, when you watch your team conceding goals?
I think we've been hurt defensively because at the moment we've not been defending properly as a team. I think that's the basic of it, really. We haven't been defending properly as a team, and whether that comes due to lack of automation in the team, you know, players finding positions like we just said before, whether that comes because, you know, we're still adapting to the level. But all of that, in my opinion, now 2 days to go to the game, it's in the past. Tomorrow you get a chance to in a couple of days' time, you get a chance to affect the rest of the season, and that's how you have to look at it.
You went to Bournemouth in January in the Cup. You were outstanding on that day, weren't you? You played really well. I think 5 or 6 lads are still here that were involved then. Does that help at all, that you've been down there relatively recently and played so well and won?
Yeah, I mean, we spent 150 million since, or 200, I don't know how much, you know, so there are a few fresh faces there as well, which maybe explains the fact that we're all trying to, but I think the biggest thing for me is to always have the belief, no matter what, and that's important for me. By the way you asked the question, I gauge your opinion, but in the end, the most important for me is that no matter what happens, the team has belief and grows from every situation that we have. And a bad game like against Brentford, we'll see. We've had them before last season as well. We had Sheffield United where we were absolutely horrendous. There's still Sunderland, you know, they're still marked in my head. So this one will be as well. But how you react after, let's see.
Yeah, that Sheffield United match last year, the response was absolutely outstanding, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I appreciate it's a different level, but is that the type of thing you want to see now?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I can't predict it, right? So it happened now, and everything in the future is what I want. But you know, in the first place, I would have liked for it not to happen. But when it happens, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's a mindset thing as well. If you get to know me over the years as well, I've always been that way. So it's a tough, trust me, confrontation to go right after the international break, go into Brentford with the hope of, right, this is our moment. And then you get 3-0 and the performance as well. And no one's shied away from it. It happened. But then what do you do after? And I don't have the answer right now, but I know how I would like to solve it, yeah.
Cheers, Vincent. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And just to Matt before we move to the environmental part.
Hi, Vinny. Just back on Lyle Forster. He's been quite open, obviously, about his mental health challenges. Is he in a good headspace at the moment? Yeah. But
what was the statistic? How many? Like a lot of people have. Probably the chances that in this room there's a couple, right? So it is. It's part of it. It's his choice to be open about it, and I think that maybe helps him and helps others, and that's good. But in the end, he's fine. He's been happy, performing, doing everything he needs to do. He's stable, and every now and then we just make sure that we support him in the way he needs to be supported.
And this week there's been some talk of Everton, a possible points deduction for them. Is that something you're keeping an eye on, or maybe the club keeping an eye on?
It has absolutely nothing to do with anything I can Easy, Crabbers. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything I can affect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Let's move to the